what's your inspiration for characters?
Inspiration for the characters? It depends on what the show is.
In this show?
Well, obviously the main character, which isn't a puppet, which is me in a suit of armour, is Don Quixote. Because I said, like, it's not the first time, but it's one of the rare times that I'm actually making a show from a book rather than just devising the whole thing. And I knew that, like, because I'd chosen Don Quixote in a blind panic because they said they needed a show, and I was meant to be making a 3-person show, and then Adam said he couldn't do it, and we hadn't got a third person either. I suddenly pitched the idea that maybe I could just do a solo show, and I'd had this, like the year before, I'd been somebody gave us a lift to a puppet festival, and they drove us across Spain from Barcelona to Lerida, and I was everybody else was asleep apart from the driver, and I was dozing out the window, and the sun was going down behind the mountains, and I just thought, this is like Don Quixote, and I never read it, didn't know anything about it apart from this famous book about a man in a suit of armour in the plains of Spain, and I thought, this is like Don Quixote country, maybe one day I'll make a Don Quixote show. And I knew that Don Quixote was the central character, but it's a book about, he has lots of encounters with lots of different people, but he also has a sidekick, Sancho Panza, who's like quite integral to the book because he's like the comedy foil. Like Don Quixote is all stiff and awkward and trying to be noble, and Sancho Panza is the sort of fat, greedy peasant he's really ignorant and stupid. Initially, I thought it was going to be I was going to make David Bowie because I thought I could do the pretense that I'd packed the wrong bag. And inside, instead of Sancho Panza, it was David Bowie, and I was going to have to do all of Sancho Panza's parts as David Bowie. And then my director went, "Nah, I don't like it." So what I did was I've made Adam, and I normally perform, like for the last 10 years, I've been performing with Adam Blake, who's a really brilliant performer. And in the 2 shows that we've got, Chorophobia and Big Boys Don't Cry, Adam is like the really silly, funny one, and I'm more the serious, angry one. I decided that I was going to make, because he couldn't do the show with me and he's left me on my own, I decided to make him as a character in the show. So then I can still be the stiff, angry one, and he can still be the stupid one. But I could be in control. So I had to make Adam, and then we sort of went down the road that we were going to make, because I'm wearing a suit of armour, everything that we're going to use now has to sort of attach to my armour. So Rocinante is a horse that's quite a big part of the book. It's this old knackered horse. So Izzy Bristow is another puppet maker, and I commissioned her to make Rocinante's head with a really big licky tongue. And then Rocinante's head attaches to my armour so I can look like I'm riding it. And then I can also attach a donkey's head to my side, and then Adam, Sancho Panza, will be able to ride the donkey, so I'll be controlling 3 puppets and myself, all in sort of one character. And then I made a small version of Don Quixote, and me as Don Quixote, that magnetised onto my armour. If I sort of magnetised these mini versions of Don Quixote to my helmet, so they dangled next to my head, I could have this conversation with these 2 drunken versions of me. So that we like the idea that they were all, everything is now, apart from Adam, everything is me as Don Quixote, or me as a younger version of me being harassed by Don Quixote. So it's like, so everything is in his imagination. That's what we thought. Whether it pulls off, who knows?
Yeah. So what did you make it especially for the festival in Norway then? Is that right?
No, I made it like, so basically there's this theatre in Norway called the Nordland Visual Theatre, and it's in a town called Stamsund, and it's on the Lofoten Islands, which is up in the Arctic Circle. They're sort of like funded by the government, Norwegian government, to make theatre shows that basically involve puppetry in some form, or figure theatre, which is like an umbrella they use for puppetry, mime, clown. Over there they put them all together and say, well, this is an art form in its own right, and it's visual theatre, figure theatre. And then we first went my company I had before, Pickled Image, went over there in 2006 to make a show, and now this is the 5th show I've made with them, because basically they've got loads of money. They really like the arts. They're really into sort of funding puppetry, which you won't get over here very much, and they'll give us a sort of they'll fund it on the proviso that we also get funding from the Arts Council in the UK. But also, they also have an international theatre festival in the town every May, June, and it's not run by that theatre. It's run by another theatre in this small town. But they collectively all put in ideas for shows they want to put on, and this one coincides with us going there for 5 weeks to make Don Quixote, and then we'll finish it just in time to premiere at the festival.
What's your usual process when you develop a show? Do you think, like to get it started?
Yeah, usual process when we develop a show, when I develop a show. I don't know, it's tricky really. You make a show and it lasts about, you get 2 years of touring out of it, and then you start to think, shit, I need to make a new show now because I've been to all the puppet festivals with this show, I need to get new shows that we can start doing the same round again. And so you try and make a show about every 3 years. I've got a team I really like working with, so I work with Emma Williams, who directs. I really get on well with her.
I've got 7 weeks of you playing a codpiece saying my name!
Adam, I've been working with since 2014. Simon Preston is a composer, musician who does all the music for us, and I've been working with him for a long time, 25 years I think. Chris Collier is a lighting designer and technician and outside eye, because he's also a director in his own right. And then I'll bring in other people like Izzy, puppet maker, and various other people that might specialise in something that they do better than I do, because I'm not great at mechanisms. I can do it, but some other people just do it. Generally, up until now, I've generally devised a show where we sort of have a vague idea of what we want to make, and then we just sit in a room and then we bash it out and keep talking and try out ideas. But up until now, I've been really lucky that I've had ideas that I want to make a show, and they sort of just evolved. Like the last one, Big Boys Don't Cry, I knew I wanted to make a show about my dad dying, me missing it and stuff, and it was about parenthood and death, and I made a life-size puppet of my dead dad that we could have on stage. And Adam wanted to do stuff about his being a father. Mine was about losing a father, and his side of the story was about being a father. And so we sort of improvised and played around and tried to make a show. And then before that, Chorophobia, I knew I wanted to make a show about clowns, because I sort of gone full circle. Like I started off as a clown, busking on the streets of Barcelona, and then I'd sort of dropped the clown persona and got more into puppetry, but I would always be performing as a performer instead of just pure puppetry. I was always on stage as a character in some way, and I knew that I just wanted to revisit clowning, because Adam, when we first met, he was doing lots of clown workshops and I had seen him in a clown show, and I thought he's a really good clown, so I wanted to sort of use his skill at performing and being a clown, and sort of re-look at my years of how I started as a clown.
Do you think many of your characters are based on real people that you can collect them?
No, they're just based on sort of weird things inside me.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm quite shy, and I've learned that if I arse about as a character, I can get away with loads more than I would ever get away with if I was just being myself. So when I put on a character, I can say anything, and I can just be as, as forthright, outspoken, rude, just things I would never do as me. But once I got a puppet on, it's fantastic. But also, there's definitely a side to me that really likes showing off, but I'll only show off if I'm on stage. Like I hate dancing in public. I hate doing anything like. I'd hate to be picked up as an audience member, which is what we do in our show. We drag people on stage and make them. Couldn't stand the thought of doing that. Wouldn't do karaoke. None of this shit would I do as me.
Yeah.
If I'm on stage, it's fine. I could be naked on stage. I wouldn't do that
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah.
I feel conscious just going swimming. It's like it's bizarre that there's definitely a difference. There's a side that I desperately need to show off, but as long as it's not me showing off. Yeah. But then within that, I make characters that are quite sort of that are definitely aspects of myself that I want to be able to sort of discover.
There we go. That's done.